Joining us in the studio is Chris Harper, who played Nathan Curtis, of course, in Corrie, the character involved in the storyline about child grooming. And TV presenter Nicola McLean, hello, you think this has all gone too far? Let's hear, before we launch you, let's hear from Chris. So, Chris, I mean, there's no doubt that child grooming is a real issue. You just have to look at the news of the situation in Telford. But is it family viewing in the way that soap plot lines used to be? Well,
first of all, soap plot lines used to be. I grew up watching, you know, Ange and Den, alcoholism. Bill Treacher was playing the, you know, guy who was stealing money and having a nervous breakdown. I think this sort of rose-tinted view of what soaps used to be like needs to be carefully monitored anyway. But I'm on tour at the moment doing a show, and Strangers on a Train, Hitchcock fans, but all people from all different stratas come and watch the play. They come and see me at stage door afterwards. The number of people who say it's really important what you did. My mum was abused, or this happened to me. It was we were able to talk about it in our living room. For the first time ever, I could bring this up. The big thing we don't want to happen with something like the grooming storyline is that in 10 years' time, somebody says that was happening to me, and I didn't want to bring it up because you were too upset by it on the telly.
You didn't have a way to bring it up. That's the thing, Nicola.
I think that, I mean, you know, I can't disagree with what you're saying, obviously, but I just think that it should be after 9 o'clock. I'm a mother of 2 children. One's 7, one's 12. You know, they don't go to bed before this time, and I don't think it's something that I just want brought into my front room that's meant to be like an entertainment show.
The truth is, though, unfortunately, that especially the storyline that I was so affected by, the grooming storyline, that does come into your life, and it happens to children.
Of course.
And that often they are lacking the vocabulary and the way that they can even bring it up because they're so shrouded in shame. And the same with the storyline that's coming up. It's about male mental health. If you have these programmes, you have I don't know if you saw 3 Girls. You've got a lot of programmes that come on after the Watershed. People tune in for that for specifics. But if you watch it on a soap, it comes in a pre-Watershed form, and it's in a way that's very carefully monitored.
Do you really think that your grooming storyline, which was harrowing, amazing, but harrowing, do you really think that that was acceptable for my 7-year-old to watch?
Well,
like,
actually,
as a parent, I don't want to go to...
7- and 8-year-olds that I know missed most of it. They just knew I was nasty. But the parents that you know, I'm in my 40s now, people I know who've got teenage kids, they were able to actually bring up the conversation and say, do you know what's happening there, Dad? That's happened to me. And that itself, the moment you start hearing that charities are hearing now from more people because they're able to identify and understand because they can see it happening on telly. Nobody gets the coverage soaps do. 8 million people tune in a night to watch Corrie, and it's in your living room. And it is done in a pre-Watershed way. You can see it afterwards.
You know, would you have conversations with your children about these issues if they weren't coming up on television, if they weren't coming up in
Absolutely.
the
I hope you know, I pride myself on being a good mother, and I want my children to be safe. I mean, first and foremost, my 12-year-old has got, you know, social media access because obviously he's got his phone now and blah, blah, blah. So I do have to have these conversations, but I don't look at Coronation Street to help me with parenting issues.
But do you think some parents need that, though, is what I mean? You know, is there a situation where other parents perhaps wouldn't feel comfortable bringing it up with their children, and maybe that sort of sparks off a conversation by watching it on TV?
I just worry that, you know, it's a lot for viewing figures as well, rather than a ratings war. And also, you know, I remember Gary Lucy doing the male rape thing with Hollyoaks years and years ago, and they put it on later because it isn't a subject you want your my 7-year-old's nearly 8. It's not a conversation. I do not want to...
There are some really gritty, you know, brutal issues that are addressed in soaps these days, aren't there? Do you think there should be a line drawn that either it should be, OK, maybe this is pushing it a bit too far, or maybe we should put this episode on later?
Well, Corrie actually did one post-Watershed episode in which case, in which they were able to show something a little bit extra, but most of it is in the minds of what you're watching. I think all parents want what's best for their children, but what's most important about something like the grooming storyline is that the children are able to see it. So the parents will bring it up if they can, but more importantly, you're enabling the children to suddenly realise what's happening to them is wrong.
Well, look, your storyline was in Corrie, and we're now joined by Coronation Street boss Kate Oates, who's on the show set at Telford. We should point out that it's not just Corrie we're talking about, it's across the board. All soaps are tackling bigger and often more difficult issues. Are you doing it because it's shocking, it's gripping, and you get more viewers because of it?
We're doing it because we're a drama. First and foremost, that's what Coronation Street is, what all soaps are. We're serial dramas, and we're here to entertain, we're here to inform. But yeah, we're telling stories, and some stories are challenging, and, you know, that's the way it's always been. I completely agree with what Chris said about, you know, you could be rose-tinted on your views of Corrie history and other soap history. There's always been challenging stories, and we're kind of just carrying on that tradition, to be honest.
And Kate, what about the fact that, you know, Nicola was making the point about families are watching, younger children are watching? Is that a concern to you for, you know, which storylines you decide to focus on and how you put them across?
We do really, really carefully consider everything we put across. You know, we are regulated by Ofcom. We have a big compliance team. They read every single storyline, they read every single script, they talk to the directors about the shots that we use. We suggest often a lot more than we show, very, very deliberately. And so, you know, the show isn't designed for very young children, and I understand that Nicola's children aren't very, very young. But I think it is still, you know, to a certain extent family viewing, but we are heavily complied. As I say, you know, we are run by Ofcom. It's something that we consider throughout the whole process, really.
I'm sure you do consider it really, really carefully. I suppose what parents might worry about is it feels like it's getting more and more shocking. I remember, because I'm very old, the first lesbian kiss on Brookside, and then there was the first gay man kiss on EastEnders. Now, in tonight's episode of Coronation Street, we're going to see the character of David Platt drugged and sexually assaulted.
I've got 2 points to address there, really. First of all, you used gay kisses as an example of shocking television.
Well, it was
and I
at
think
the
it's
time.
really, really
it was a
important that
groundbreaking
nobody
thing at
thinks
the
that a gay
time.
kiss is shocking Exactly, and that's what's interesting. It was at the time, and now it's been normalised, quite rightly, because to think that a gay kiss is shocking television is really, really disturbing. And it's things like soap operas that can make these things, you know, this is life, this is how people should be free to live, and that's great. With something like a rape storyline, male sexual assault happens. 1 in 10 rapes that happen in the UK will be of a male victim. And we know from research that men take an excess of 25 years to disclose when when a sexual assault happens to them. This needs discussion. It's so important to shine a light on these subjects, but do it carefully, you know, do it with consideration. We don't want to upset people. We are a drama, but we want to inform people. And I'm really delighted that you mentioned those kisses as being something that soaps have done to help change society, because sometimes it needs changing for the better, and we have a really, really important role in that.
And what kind of response do you get when you tackle these more difficult issues? Because I guess often for people as well, they're shining a spotlight on what's going on up and down the country.
We get a mixed response, but generally we get a fantastic one. I mean, the truth is, I've been talking a lot recently about, is Coronation Street darker? The truth is, our viewing figures are up year on year, and that's fantastic. People are watching the show, they're tuning in. And yeah, of course, you know, we hear people sort of saying, oh, I find the storyline too challenging, or this isn't for me, and that's fine. You know, the whole point of a serial drama is that there are lots of story strands running at any one time, and hopefully viewers will find something that can, you know, that they can key into and that they will enjoy. The viewing figures are doing really well. You know, we monitor things on social media all the time. You know, Twitter's very lively, Facebook's really lively. We know what our viewers like and what they don't like. And yeah, in the main, the show is in really, really great health, and that's my job, and that's what I'm proud of.
And all those people who tweeted this morning saying, don't lose the laughs in Corrie's, you're not, are you?
We're not. We're absolutely not. I mean, I mentioned the other day how Dolly Rose Campbell won Best Comedy Performance at the Soap Awards.
Yeah.
There's great one-liners in the show. There's great comedy strands. We've got some amazing comedy characters. I think if we lost the comedy in Coronation Street, then I would certainly be dragged out of this pub any minute now, and that's thankfully not happening. Not yet, anyway. Someone behind the bar.
Kate, thanks very much. That's Kate Oates there, and also a big thank you as well to Nicola McLean and Chris Harper for joining us here in the studio to talk more about that.
You ended up relatively...
That was a good one, wasn't it? I was calm, wasn't I? Calm. Now we're going to go for a drink.
Yeah.